Welcome back. So, one of the techniques or tools of white supremacy is divide and conquer. It started in slavery, where we're made to feel that we're not what we actually were. On those slave ships, there were families sometimes of people, blood relatives, who were just left on different location. But if we're not bound up by biology, we are bound up by the shared history of enslavement and our resistance, our survival, and our desire to thrive, regardless of our island, mainland. But anyway, I was in the library and I came across this book. It's entitled The Last Colony, A Tale of Exile, Justice, and Courage. And when I glanced at it, I realized that in East Africa, the British had slave colonies. And after slavery ended, that there were still people there that went from being enslaved to colonized. And I just was touched by the story because, of course, we have that shared connection of enslavement. So let me jump in. This is a true story, first recounted in a series of lectures I gave at the Hague Academy of International Law in the summer of 2022. As a participant in parts of it, I'm not an independent observer and understand that events may be seen from different angles with different interpretations. I've tried to present a personal account in a manner that is fair and balanced, a story which is little known and deserves a broader audience actually comprises a number of interwoven tales. One relates to the International Court of Justice in The Hague and its role in the gradual demise of colonialism, with a focus ultimately on the case of Mauritius. Another is more personal, my own evolving relationship with the world of international law. And a third, the beating heart of this book, is the tale of Lisby Else, the wrongs done to her and other Chagossians and their quest for justice, which continues to this day. I've sought to capture what Madame Else shared with me during many hours spent together going over the text and the event, to accord with her recollections. I hope that our collaboration and friendship met her aspirations. Our backgrounds are different, yet our paths connected through processes of law and litigation that have gradually closed the curtain on the colonial era into which Madame Else was born and lived, and in which my working life has been cast. So let me tell you a little about Madame Else. I'll jump into the chapter. Madame Else was a witness from Mauritius, the African country from which I acted in the case. She would speak on behalf of the Chagossians in the language of Creole, delivered with clarity, force, and passion. She could not read or write, so the judges agreed she would address them in a pre-recorded statement. She would watch them as they watched her, a woman in a black suit and a white shirt edged with lace, wearing a small blue and red badge that proclaimed, quote, "Let us return," end quote. M'appelle Lisby Else. My name is Lisby Else. The translation appeared in English and French, neat captions in the white at the bottom of the screen. I was born on 24 July 1953 in Paris, Banos. My father was born in Six Island. My mother was born in Paris, Banos. My grandparents were also born there. I form part of the Mauritius delegation. Mauritius delegation. I'm telling how I have suffered since I've been uprooted from my paradise island. I'm happy that International Court is listening to us today, and I am confident that I will return to the island where I was born. With these opening words, the mood in the great hall changed, as a heavy silence was felt, one that accompanies a significant moment in a public space, of the kind encountered in a theatre or concert hall when a performer connects with an audience whose attention is fixed and keen. As Madame Elsie spoke without a script, the president looked towards her, seated a few feet away. As memories tumbled out, words rough and powerful that cut through the pomp of the great hall. Quote, everyone had a job, his family and his culture, but all that we ate was fresh food. Ships which came from Mauritius brought all our goods. We received our groceries. We received all that we needed. We did not lack anything. In Chagos, everyone lived a happy life. Important things, they had work, they had family, they had culture. The tone changed, becoming less soft. One day, the administrator told us that we had to leave our island, leave our houses, and go away. All persons were unhappy. They were angry that they were told to go away. But we had no choice. They did not give us any reason. Up to now, we have not been told why we had to leave, but afterwards, ships which used to bring us food stopped coming. We had nothing to eat, no medicine, nothing at all. We suffered a lot. But then one day a ship called Nordvar came. Madame Elsie paused. The administrator told us we had to board the ship, leaving everything, leaving all our personal belongings behind, except a few clothes, and go. People were very angry about that, and when this was done, it was done in the dark. She paused again as a frown passed across her brow. She did not name the administrator Monsieur Robespierre Prosper, or the date, which was 27 April 1973. In the evening at dusk, we boarded the ship in the dark so that we could not see our island. And when we boarded the ship, conditions in the hull of the ship were bad. We were like animals and slaves in that ship. People were dying of sadness in that ship. And as for me, I was 4 months pregnant at that time. The ship took 4 days to reach Mauritius. After our arrival, my child was born and died. Why did my child die? From me? It was because I was traumatized on that ship. I was very worried. I was upset. This is why when my child was born, he died. This was only 4 days on the ship. Our ancestors were traveling for weeks, and her pain is real. She drew her lips together. I maintain we must not lose hope. We must think one day will come when we will return on the land where we were born. My heart is suffering, and my heart still belongs to the island where I was born. Nobody would like to be uprooted from the island where he was born, to be uprooted like animals. And it is heartbreaking. And I maintain justice must be done. She seemed to struggle to rein in the emotions, to keep a deep well of anger at bay. Yet she was not able to stop herself. It was as if decades of emotion, anger, and hope were unleashed. I must return to the island where I was born. Don't you feel that it is heartbreaking when someone is uprooted from his island like an animal and he does not know where he's being brought? Madame Elsie's voice broke, a tremolo across the silence. And I'm very sad. I still don't know how I left my Chagos. They expelled us by force, and I am very sad. She stopped and closed her eyes. My tears keep rolling every day. I keep thinking I must return to my island. Then at last she let herself go. I maintain I must return to the island where I was born, and I must die there, and where my grandparents have been buried, in the place where I took birth, and in my native island. She took a long breath, exhaled, swept her hands across her face as if a great cleansing motion, looked into the camera, turned, allowed her head to drop. She wept. How might the judges react to so open and unusual an expression of emotion in so venerable a place of justice? Madame Ilse spoke for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. The silence that followed seemed interminable. And as I stood at the podium, a gentle sound filled the great hall of justice, the sound of tears. I waited to address the court. Later, after the morning session was over, as Madame Ilse and I stood outside the great hall, she turned to me with a sense of relief. A warm smile etched across her face. Did it go well? Yes. May I ask a question? Yes. Why did it take so long for us to come to The Hague? This is a story of relatives far away in East Africa, the trauma of displacement, the trauma of trying to belong. And we're happy and sad for Elsie, for at least she knew for a while a place where she belonged, because some of us in the diaspora, we've felt homeless in places that should have been our homes. But we're all connected, right? All fighting the same battle. The liberation of Black people. The end to anti-Black racism. Now tell me what you think. Thanks so much for listening.